Hey guys, what's up? Lewin here at GarageBand and Beyond. Hey, really quickly, I just wanted to remind you that for free, I'm giving away the Home Recording Studio Shoppers List, which is essentially a list of all the stuff you need to buy for your first home recording studio. Plus on that list, there's the discussion of do you need studio monitors, or can you mix on your, stereo at home? Or there's the discussion of condenser mics and dynamic mics. All that stuff is on there. And it's totally free. GaragebandandBeyond.com. There's a link below. Check it out. Now, the reason I'm here today is to talk about how to record and to mix backup vocals. A few tips that I've worked out throughout the years, and I'm going to give it to you for free right now. So anyway, we're talking about the song called Say You Missed Me by Sunshine Superman. Of course, there's a link for that below. And let's just listen to the part we're going to talk about. So here are the backup vocals all alone, and it's these 5 tracks right there.
Say you miss me. Say you always wanted to kiss me.
Okay, so pretty simple little part, but what you should be noticing is the big open stereo spread. And that's really what I'm going to be talking about, how to get like a nice big stereo spread backup vocal sound. Now, the very first thing, obviously, is going to be during the recording process, you are going to have your singer sing these backup parts multiple times. So what I mean, in this particular part, there are actually 3 parts that are being sung. So there's a low section, the fundamental, which is essentially the notes of the melody, and then there's a higher section, which are, just the higher notes up on top. So when I say you need to have them sing it multiple times, what I mean is, so here's the low part, for example, right? There's the single track. Here's the second track of it. Right? So when you have your singer start singing multiple tracks, what ends up happening is, you get this cool natural chorus, and it really does sound like multiple people are singing, even though obviously it's just one voice, but you get that basic effect that there's a lot of people singing. So I think it's most essential for the low parts to be doubled, and absolutely positively the high parts to be doubled and recorded twice. And I say essential for the high part because it's always the high part of a backup vocal that is going to cut through and really sit on top of the mix, much like an icing on a cake. You know what I mean? So you would definitely want to have that high part doubled. And let me just show you, those 2 are down here, or wait, here's one of them. Right? Here's the one on the right side. Right? So there you can hear the 2 lower parts are on the left, and the high part is split between the left and the right. Now I bring in that fundamental, which is the notes of the melody, and that tends to be the glue that, really brings all the parts together. And let me let you hear that all together. I'll turn it off. Back on. You know what I mean? So it's that middle part, that middle section is really the glue that sticks everything together. Now, so that's that. So just make sure all the parts are doubled, as many as you can, and the fundamental doesn't necessarily have to be doubled. It can be if you want to, but I don't think it's essential like the high and the lows are. Now, the next big thing is how you're going to pan this. Now, the trick, a lot of people have been writing to me and how they do it and how they think it's done and stuff. I'm going to tell you right now, it's 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. So in this case, I have all the low voices, both low voices and one of the high voices, 9 o'clock on the panning dial, which you can see right here. I hope you can see. And then I have the fundamental and the other high part at 3 o'clock on the right-hand side. Keep it even. Don't go hard left, hard right. Don't do that. keep them at 9 and 3. One of the reasons that you don't want to go hard and left, hard right is because it just ends up separating it too much. Or, if you start spreading it over like, whatever, the 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and a 12 o'clock position, if you start spreading your parts out, it just does not sound like parts anymore. They get separated, and you don't want that separation from a backup vocal sound. You want them to sound like a group of singers. If you were standing in front of a chorus or a choir or something, the sopranos would be here and the altos would be there and the basses would be there, and you know what I mean? So they would be sectioned together. You'd be standing with a bunch of sopranos or whatever you are. So you want to try to emulate that in the recording process by panning it 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. I think that's one of the big secrets here is 9 and 3. Now, really quickly, I'm just going to show you the plugins that I'm using on this because I think some of these are really, really killer things. This is one of the EQs that comes with the T-Rex custom shop from IK Multimedia. I'm just using the female vocal presence, which is sort of basically like your typical hi-fi scoop. I typically don't use these kinds of sounds very much, but in this particular track, I wanted these to be real shimmery and have a lot of presence. So I'm using a preset, which is this female vocal presence, which is a really nice thing. The other one that I love using is the Psp Vintagewarmer2, hands down the most used plugin in my studio. And I know I took a lot of crap for when I made this, the demo for this, because it was like quiet and loud and quiet and loud. And admittedly, I guess in hindsight, I should not have done it that way. But I'm going to tell you guys, like when I use the Psp Vintagewarmer, it is typically to help any of my tones that I feel like are just not pushing through the mix with any sort of force or any real detail. I'll throw the Vintagewarmer2 on there. I mean, my favorite preset on here is this one, the multi-band compressor limiter in a heavy setting. This thing is it squishes it in an invisible way that you can't really hear it, and then just boosts it, and it's got this really great, it definitely helps bring out like sort of that breathy, throaty sound of a voice. It just really helps accentuate all the details. Really, really, really love this. Of course, I have a reverb running, and this is another reverb that I have from IK Multimedia. This is the Classic Studio Reverb, which is a classic plate. And it's just a really, really nice sounding plate reverb, and it has tons of different things to manipulate to, get your own custom tone out of the reverb. And then the last thing is this guy right here, the White 2A leveling amplifier, again from IK Multimedia. You can buy this individually, and this is my favorite compressor these days. You can really squish the hell out of stuff with this. I love this on bass tracks particularly, and vocal tracks. Anything where you need it to be totally smooth. You don't want to hear the compressor, but you don't want any peaks and valleys to be, you don't want anything to be too quiet or too loud. This thing squishes in a very, very nice and invisible manner. Definitely worth buying. If you're going to buy these two things off of here, it'd be this leveling amplifier and this Psp Vintagewarmer2. These are my favorite plugins, really. I use them all the time. Well, there's a couple other ones, but they're sort of top secret. I don't want to give away all my secrets yet. Anyway, so that's how I do it here, with the plugins. Those are the plugins I like to use for vocal tracks in general. And some of you might be commenting or about to comment on the fact that I'm running multiple compressors. And I've said in the past that, this is something you don't want to do. You don't really want to do that with compressors that you hear compressing. You know what I mean? If you have a compressor, there's certain ones out there that you hit it and I hear the compression. It's fatiguing to my ears. So you don't want to double up those. But when you're using like compressors that are sort of invisible and you use them more as, like, for me, the Psp Vintagewarmer2, it's an invisible compression. Like, you don't hear it, totally transparent. But I like the tone of that plugin. Also, using multiple compressors sort of falls under the category of cascade compression, which is something that I'm still learning about. But I have been experimenting with it, and I'm happy with the results I get. It just, it's a tonal thing. It's just a new concept of how to get a different, more punchy sound out of vocals. Oops. All sorts of different, whatever you're recording. If you want to get multiple compressors on there, you got to experiment with the ones that work, and these are 2 that work. But it's a tricky thing. I don't, typically recommend it, but cascade compression is sort of a newer thing in the mixing world. And it's a pretty cool thing. I don't know a ton about it. I'm still learning. But anyway, so those are the plugins I use. Really quick recap of what I've just blabbed about. So, multiple parts. When you're having your singer record, make sure they record each vocal part multiple times, at least 2 times. It's better to have the material than to not have it. You know what I mean? Like later in the mix stage, you can't be like, oh, I really wish I had another part there, because everything's been torn down and it's just too late. So do the hard work early on, and if you need to get rid of it, no problem. At least you have it to get rid of. You know what I'm saying? So double up as many parts as you can. 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock on the panning, and then however you like to EQ and compress, but these are the things that I like to use, and I highly recommend the Vintagewarmer2 and that white 2A amplifier from IK Multimedia. They are really, really great things. So I think that's it, you guys. I hope this helps, and of course I'm part of the comment section of this video as always, and on Facebook we're going to be chatting about this one all week, I'm sure. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel. Check out GaragebandandBeyond.com. And also go watch the Sunshine Superman video now. All right? Have a great day. Talk to you later.